Hey everybody, it's Terry Stromba for the Artisan Fiber Mill Network. Today we have John Ragon from Ragon Creative with us, and he's going to be telling us about marketing in uncertain times, and I think that is a very appropriate topic at this time. So for any of you who missed our intros, John is the owner and creator behind Ragon Creative, where he serves as a website strategy consultant for small businesses and nonprofits who are ready to build momentum using the power of digital marketing and content development. Wow, that's a mouthful. So I did look at your website there for Snowbird Wilderness, a very robust site. I encourage folks to take a look at that as well. So, let's jump right into it. These are crazy times, and a lot of us, I think I kind of dropped you a few notes that a lot of us fiber mills are kind of scattered. We're all over from, one-person operations to multi-people operations. Some of us just manufacture for ourselves. Others do it as a service and for ourselves. Others are producing finished product. Some are solely doing commercial type product for resale. So you've got the gamut. And keep in mind that our viewers are global. We have folks all over the globe who are kind of turning in. A big focus of the group is North America, but we've got a whole bunch of mills popping up on the other side of the globe. So kind of marketing's kind of relevant no matter where you are.
Yeah, always got to be able to communicate what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I kind of looked. Some of us have websites and social media pages. Some don't. Most of us wear all the hats, so that's a challenge if you keep that in mind while you're talking to us. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little about your thoughts of marketing in uncertain times.
Well, cool. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Very kind. Really, I think marketing at its core, I think a lot of times it's easy for us to kind of delineate marketing and throw it in as like marketing is advertising, or marketing is only social media, or marketing is, word of mouth sales calls, whatever that is. And when you look at the goal behind marketing and really the goal behind business, I would say it's pretty consistent as long as you stay big picture. At the foundation, businesses exist to solve problems. And, like you guys as fiber mills, either solving problems, whether you're, processing fibers to sell in your retail shop, or you're processing for farms, you will eventually get them to retail customers. You're trying to solve problems, or at least meet a need or a want that people are willing to pay for. And so that core of marketing is always going to be true. And so today, I've just been thinking through a lot of things, and where I work day to day, I work at a nonprofit student camp, a high adventure camp in North Carolina. You mentioned Snowbird Outfitters. And all of what we do puts people in our cabins on our property from other states, so that they can, meet in large teaching sessions and go rafting and do things like that together. And so when COVID hit and just all the uncertainty, even just economically, really our summer was in major jeopardy. We just didn't know. Everything was uncertain, as we've talked about. And just thinking through, like, you can't control everything, right? You guys as businesses, me as a business, we can't control the situation we're in. But I do appreciate a lot of people have talked about, we'll look for the opportunity. And I think that if our mission as businesses has started well, has started right, then our mission is to serve our customers. Our mission is to serve our clients, or, our retail customers, whether B2B, or customers, whatever that looks like. And so that may look differently in uncertain times, but our mission to do that is the same. So working through, just thinking through what we were doing at Snowbird, and and thinking through what our mission is, why we exist, which we kind of recoined our mission statement back in 2014. And to be honest, I think we have a really effective service that we provide, especially churches, but also private schools at our high adventure camp. But even attendance just kind of kept going up and down, and everybody loved it when they were there. It was always hard to get traction with new groups, with people that didn't really know much about snowboard, they didn't have any previous experience. But as the marketing director, once we solidified our mission statement, before we just kind of had a sentence or two that just said what we did. And it just wasn't enough to grab a hold of. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't our why we existed. It was just that we do this for these types of people.
Yeah.
But when we could solidify and clarify that mission statement, that sent my brain running in all the right directions. How do I communicate this? How do I communicate our values through photos, through videos, through even music we share, through teaching sessions, through webinars like this, or through social media posts, through blog posts, through sales copy on our website. The problem was that there were so many options beforehand. We could explain what we did in a conversation, but we couldn't write it down.
Yeah.
Once we were able to do that, that kind of open up the door to just be really hyper specific. And I'm sure fiber mills are already a niche or a niche business where you guys are at already. I would assume there aren't a million of you guys. So I know that you're in the business that you are because you love it. You're not there because all your neighbors did it and then you followed them.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that you started with your mission. Our mission is to just produce great fibers. So completely generalizing here. But then being driven and started out by our mission, how do we serve our audience? How do we serve our ideal customer? Not just anybody who would buy fibers, or anybody who would buy a scarf, or any farm would want their fibers processed, but what niche of that niche, what sub niche do we meet really well? Are we as a business, are we really fast at processing, or do we do really high quality work, or do we do a certain type of processing that nobody else around does? So just thinking through the audience pain points.
It's kind of like telling your story a bit.
Yeah, it does. I'd say, your story is probably more related to your mission, but then looking at your audience and learning their needs. A lot of times the needs of your customer isn't just to get some fiber, but they want to have what the fiber makes, what they can produce with the fibers they get from you guys. And so just thinking, what drives, what do they dream about when they go to bed at night? What do they wake up worried about? And not just pretending that you can identify with that, but just learning our audience so well that we can just authentically and honestly show we're one of you, you're one of us, we're the same people. I'm on this part of the process, but I live and breathe not what I do, but what you do, the whole thing. And then from that, then as businesses, we can develop strategies that communicate that, strategies that meet that. 2 pictures of an alpaca just on a farm at the beginning, and then the second picture, rolls of fibers, on the shelf ready to buy, kind of like what's in your background there.
Yeah.
But just thinking, I know you guys have perfected your process of production in so many ways, and you have not just the standard process, but your process, your way of doing things. And as businesses, we've got to define and develop that very simple process for marketing, so that it's simple enough where we can repeat it often, for each project or each week or however we're setting up our calendar, our strategy, but that we can also improve that as we go. So, mission, what's your mission? What's your audience's needs, their wants, their pain points? I think a lot of times that we assume our things into our audience, and we think we know them well enough to where we start assuming, well, this will meet their need, but in reality, they have a different pain point that may not seem like such a big deal. But once we can identify that, then we're able.
I think there's a lot of us who can identify that with that currently. A lot of our customers are growers. Well, most of them are growers, but then they turn around, they get their product from us, and then they either sell it in their farm store, or a lot of them go to these huge fiber festivals, of which all have been canceled this year. So,
Right.
so now it's, we're building inventory basically for them. So I think there's an opportunity for us to, look at that as you're talking, develop what are their needs now. Their needs is to move this inventory that we've just built for them. Is there a way we can help, or, help them move their raw material that they may not need the inventory built now? So
Right.
I think, our whole mix of customers are kind of in that flux right now. Just as kind of throwing in there as we may think we know what our customers need, but what they needed last year and what they need this year may be entirely different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thinking towards the strategy section of this is really just thinking through. I'm not a big fan, and maybe this is more of a personal stance, but I'm not a big fan of just sales just for giving everybody 30% off, just because it's, spring or whatever, because I think that when we do that as businesses, we devalue our product or service in the eyes of consumers. And, not to mention that, but mills, like, you guys have to stay in business as well. You have employees sometimes that you're hiring or whatever that looks like. But I'm a big fan of finding ways to serve your audience, to serve your customers, and just going not just the extra mile, but the extra 3 miles, and serving. I know that I think my family experienced this in a few different ways, of businesses not really giving us a discount on anything, but just serving, just being empathetic, and showing that, hey, like, they kind of understand that money's tight, or that we can't travel like we want to, but that we still have these desires or these needs. Obviously farmers or retailers are still wanting to sell their products. They don't necessarily always want them to get them cheaper. They just want to have sales coming in. And their revenue and sales are their end goal, not necessarily how it comes, how it happens. But I know that there's one zoo, the Cincinnati Zoo. Once COVID happened, the virus kind of hit hard in March. They started every day at 3:00. They would start basically interviewing an animal, and they would send out one of their, not a professional video crew at all, just they'd walk around with an iPhone and shoot a live Facebook video and just visit one animal a day. And they're still doing that now. That's probably 3-4 months ago. And they'd have a different worker in the zoo, usually just a college student, maybe a 23-year-old who just loves animals, not a professional marketing storyteller, but they just loved what they did. And so they would introduce these animals who all have names, and lots of random facts. Just, they have different feeding schedules. They have different environments. How do we help a lion from Africa live in Cincinnati, Ohio? Different interesting stuff. And they're not making anything on that. They couldn't even be open during that time. And so, money wasn't their goal. They're just trying to serve kids. They're trying to serve families, in a way that families are at home. I only have one school-age kid, but she was at home. She's a kindergartner, and so we started watching it almost every day, 5-6 days a week. And so I knew she loved it, but I didn't realize how much she loved it until one day we were asking her, right, Berkeley, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? And she said, I want to work at the Cincinnati Zoo. That's what I want to do. So not be a zookeeper, not be, I want to take care of animals. I want to work at the Cincinnati Zoo. And that was such a good story to me
Yeah.
because, I mean, better than them getting a visitor, we may be able to take her one day next year and they'll make probably $40 off her family.
Yeah.
If they can, I mean, if they teach her to love Cincinnati Zoo better than any other zoo in the country,
Yeah.
or she's talking about it, and one day she dreams of working there, and she's a talker. Like, she's one of those people who you'll never hear the end of it. And so, they've won a lifelong fan, for their business.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. But, in that way, I think that we can all just always just practice, learning our people, learning our audience, and just trying to listen, whether it's on social media or if we've got extra time. Sometimes that's needs to be used in building our business, but sometimes it just needs to be used calling our customers and saying, hey, how's it going today? Or, what do you have planned this week? So
you mentioned, that they did that on social media. And I think social media is one of those things we automatically think of Facebook. Tips and tricks for social media. It can be a time suck. You get in it, you don't mean to scroll, and then it's like, Pinterest is that for me. It seems like I push a button and then I'm down a rabbit hole because it leads to 10 other buttons. Yeah. And then I look up and 2 hours are gone and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I'm hoping I'd learn from somebody else's stuff, but, kind of best bang for a buck. I think, I've read a lot. I've taken a lot of online stuff. We're supposed to tell our story. We're supposed to be personable, reach out, try to identify. I mean, the zoo one just makes so much sense. What a neat idea and how simple and fun, and it's like you said, everybody who watches it feels like they know the zoo now. And, to get a lifelong fan like your daughter at such an early age. Best ways to maybe use social media to our advantage. And do you think, social media ties to your website? Do we do it all? Do we do one really well? Where do we go? Where do we start?
It's that's the hard part is, everything's always, or it feels like everything's always changing.
Yeah.
And so, that's why, man, at the beginning, I always, when I'm consulting with clients or just training them on their website or in this conversation, just start with your mission, and then start with your audience. Where does your mission meet their needs or their wants, and then go from there. Then go into strategy, because there's no one right answer for every industry, and there's no one right answer for every mill. I think there are some mills that would do great doing all social media channels, and some where they should just stay on Instagram and whatever. But I think that I had some notes on that, but I think that I'll pull those up. But in this presentation that you guys can get at the end, I made notes. I want to start with this area, this conversation of quality versus quantity, because I think that both have their place. But to be honest, I think consistency beats both of them every time. One, because you can do quality consistently, even if this is an exaggeration. But if you did one social media post a week, but it was fantastic, that might be what fits. Or if your consistency was every morning at 8 a.m., when you come into work and get started for the day, that can be consistency that works. But here's 5 types of consistency that I think is worth us as small businesses pursuing. And so first was a consistent schedule, and then a consistent message, consistent service, whether that's the literal service we're providing or just serving serving people consistently, always have just a helpful attitude towards our customers and partners, and then consistent quality and consistent improvement. And so that last thing, improvement, I think is why consistency is even better than just shooting for quality.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're trying to shoot for an Instagram photo or an Instagram story or a Facebook live video, whatever that is, it's good to start small. I would tell businesses and fiber mills, just start now, start today. Find out where your people are, where you need to be, which social media channel that is, or it might not even be social media. In my personal life, I'm not a big social media fan because of those reasons you mentioned. I just get sucked in. I don't have the self-discipline that I need in those areas, and so, but it is a worthwhile business channel or platform for communication. And so that's good. But my advice, especially for people who aren't necessarily experienced or trained in marketing, is to start right away and just make those mistakes early and be fine with it. Because as long as you're consistently reviewing what works and what doesn't, and you're just every month, you sit down and look at the stats, whatever that looks like, and just see like, okay, like this, we got a lot of likes on this thing, but nobody ever clicked on it. Maybe they liked watching it, but it seems like they weren't really the customers we were trying to reach anyway. Whatever. Maybe it was funny.
Yeah.
But did it reach the goal that we had? And then pretty quickly you kind of start to see the content. And to be honest, in the slides I'll send you guys at the end, I talk about content as a general word, whether it's social media content or website content or email content. It's good to approach it the same way, and that you'll have some things that are engaging, some things that are just straight sales, just, hey, we've got this new product, here's how you buy it, and some things will be just good teaching things, which I think is really helpful for selling to businesses or customers. And Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, is somebody I like to watch and listen to sometimes. But he wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. It's several years old, and it was on social media. So if you read it now, a lot of the pictures will be outdated and might be funny. But he's a very aggressive personality. He's one of those guys. He's just a magnet. But the way he explains communication and content and social media is give them value 9 times in a row to show your authority on your topic, and to just be encouraging and to teach your customers something, to give them value. And then that 10th time, ask for the sell, because by then you're not having to hammer it in and say, hey, here's 27 reasons why you should buy this before 4 p.m. today because the sale's going by, But